Okay.
The
Daryl Boeckers.
German name for a teacher, a certified teacher of Spanish,
Right on.
who loves Italian food and drives a Japanese model car. So I like to think of it as diversity all day long.
Absolutely.
And how do you pronounce your last name?
Baloo.
Baloo.
Like the bear. Baloo the bear from the Jungle Book.
Nice.
Do you see me in YouTube Live?
I am not in there. Are you asking Dave?
I'm asking Dave, sorry.
No worries.
Yep, no, it actually just on my end listed. So if you want to go ahead and say, do you guys have a copy where you can copy paste a welcome?
Like, what do you mean?
Like, hey, this is who I am and I'm your moderator. Or if you can just type in, hey, this is who I am and I'm your moderator. And then
Sure.
I can give you, like some of them are really distant. And I'm like, I know that Audrey and a couple of people put together, Daryl put together this awesome mod toolkit. And
yep, I'm let's see, where is it? Moderator toolkit.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know that we included that, Dave.
I don't know, but that seems like a copy and paste to put in the toolkit. I'm going to go ahead and open up the room completely. So people aren't just sitting in a waiting room.
I just put it on YouTube Live.
Hey, something that we didn't account for, Dave, in the planning was this was on May Day, and we've had 4 doorbell rings with sweet little children delivering baskets on May Day. So hopefully my co-presenter, Sadie the new dog, doesn't react to the May Day baskets during the next 60 minutes. Right? Hello, everybody.
Hello.
How are we doing today? Happy May Day to everybody.
Yeah, happy May Day.
I'll say something at 3.
Sounds good.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop out. And if you guys need anything, hit me up on Slack and I'll jump back in. But everything's been going really, really well.
Sweet. Thanks, Dave.
And then Daryl, just to confirm, you see the host, the breakout bar across the bottom?
I do now, thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon, Carrie Schrader. I see you in there. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks. Fun to see some familiar faces and names listed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frederick Baloo. I'll be the moderator checking on the chat both here and in YouTube Live. We now have Daryl Boeckers, who's going to take it away.
Hey, thanks so much, Frederick. I appreciate it. I just want to also cue people in that there's a lot going on today at the mndlsummit.org site today. You'll notice that there's a photo booth. Be sure to share out a quick recording to document your attendance just for fun, and also to see who else is attending. You know, with 5 or so windows that I'm seeing in front of me, it's even nicer to see everybody else linked there. You're going to find at my resources page that's listed on the site, it's listed next to the schedule. This is probably exactly how you got in. You're going to see resources that are listed here at the bottom. So starting off with my slides, you should have view access to the slides, and then again, a whole host of resources. And if you have questions, you can add them in the chat feature. Frederick will bring them up as they come up. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for making time. I know it's been a busy time for us in education. This is my 20th year in teaching. And I can't think of a more strange year than we had here in 2019 and 20. And I am a learning technologies coach and technology coordinator. I'm also a certified teacher of Spanish, and I teach at Blaine High School. So this year, I've had a lot of opportunities to connect with teachers about how to integrate technologies into curriculum. And you can about imagine in the last 5 weeks, we've had a lot more discussion about what that looks like today. A hot button topic right now in, we call them collaborative teams, PLCs, a lot of people call them. When I meet with folks, they have the same question that a lot of people is, and that is, what on earth do I do about summative assessments? And I don't know that anyone has all of the answers, but I'm here today to share 3 tools that we can think about repurposing, thinking about making a shift away from a multiple choice assessment. A big concern about teachers sending out a multiple choice test, of course, is test security. A lot of people dump time into designing assessments, and they just don't want to just hand something over to be shot with a screenshot or with a phone and really put that in jeopardy. A little bit about today. Today, I want to introduce myself, which I've already done. Introduce yourselves in the chat. Share what your name is, share what you teach, share where you teach if you haven't already. And that way people can connect. I've had a chance in the last 2 weeks to meet some phenomenal educators, many of whom I had not met before this summit. And this is totally grassroots and organic. And it's been a definite highlight in my teaching career. So this is our chance to connect. It's also a chance for us to find out, hey, I met Diane in today's Zoom. I want to reach out to her because she had a similar question or concern. I want to connect with her about, you know, whatever topic that we have going on today. It's a little bit about the frameworks, about how I see learning, how I view learning, and then 3 chances for us to think about how can we capture a summative assessment? How can students showcase proficiency in learning targets? In my setting, of course, in secondary Spanish, you're going to see that these, of course, are situated in that. However, if you're a math teacher, you may want to think about how kids can record, how kids can create a portfolio, maybe for as an example. Any of the resources that I've shared in that listing are just that. They're shareable. Share them with your colleagues, share them with your curriculum people, tweet them out however you'd like. A little bit about how I view teaching and learning. I think in spring of 2020, there is no better way to situate how learning happens or how teachers design instruction than the help of TPAC. TPAC is a framework that was designed in the mid-2000s with the help of Lee Schulman's work in the mid-80s, where he wrote about teachers being experts in their content. For me, it's in Spanish, and then also feel like I'm an expert in how to deliver that, even though we get better, all of us, every single year. The third lens here in the bottom was added in 2006 by Mishra and Keller out of Michigan State, and they invite people to design instruction to this sweet spot when applicable. So I guess what I want to share with you today, and again, it kind of makes sense considering in the context of distance learning, and this is also cited in the references in the last slide. I also want to talk about this pedagogically, something that I'm really passionate about as a learning technologies coach, and is not just grabbing shiny aluminum objects and making sure that they're in tip-top shape, but then also be thinking about why we're using them. I find that the more educators think about why we use tools, in today's case, maybe it's simple audio recorder extension, maybe it's Screencastify, maybe it's sites to create some kind of a portfolio. But when we know why we do what we do, the how and the what will fit into place. So as a language teacher, I want to teach 90% or more in target language per the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. I want to plan with backward design model. I want to give feedback to my kiddos those are the highly effective practices that are coming out of our field. I recently grabbed this resource from a blog by a gal named Tina Hargadon, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's an enthusiast in our field in language teaching. And she really invited us to think about constructivist education. And if you click into this, by the way, you'll get the full listing here. But this is our chance to think about assessments from a constructivist perspective. We're not looking for one right answer. We're looking for how students can share their answer. In a constructivist learning environment, you'll find out that teachers are really facilitators. They're not deliverers of curriculum per se. And this is a chance for kids to showcase what they know in really thinking about portfolios. I think about this in terms of, as a language teacher, as a proficiency portfolio, a way for kids to showcase what they can do. In the first context that I want to lead us through here is, here are my learning targets and here are my essential questions. I find that teachers are struggling with boiling down what they want to uncover between now and early June. And they want to take it all. They want to take their whole curriculum, divided in the amount of days left. Let's say it's 24 instructional days, and they want to set out that many per week as a result. And I would really invite teachers, all of us, to first of all, give yourself grace during distance learning and realize not one of us is doing this, quote unquote, the right way. But instead, think of this as a chance for, what do kids need as a top priority walking in? So if I'm teaching Spanish 2A at Blaine High School and Allie Chapman has this student in 2B, what do I know that Allie wants my kiddos to have walking into 2B? And for me, in this opportunity of looking at the learning targets of Spanish 2A, talking about vacations and free time, then these are the learning targets that I'm after. Here are the essential questions that I have in mind when I'm designing instruction. I used to do a postcard activity in level 1. And I love the postcard activity for novice language learners. But if you ever ask a 9th through 12th grader how many have ever written a postcard, not many hands go up. You get the one kid that's like in the corner that did it because their parent forced them to write one. They don't need postcards today in 2020, and that's okay. It's still a great task, but one thing that I've used with technology to capture a different kind of activity is to think about having kids invite somebody to go visit a city. Maybe it's the city of Madrid. And in that case, you'll see in this left screenshot, I want kids, again, back to those pedagogical reasons of why I'm integrating technology. I want to share with kids a PDF of a city guide for the city of Madrid. Now, keeping in mind that K-12 kiddos shouldn't see all content from a city guide. I would say that about any city guide, including where I live near Minneapolis. I would be thinking about, I want kids to have a connection. I want them to see what a city guide looks like if I'm having them write out that postcard. And the end task, which I'm going to lead to here shortly, is I want kids to record an announcement. And maybe we could use, Google Hangouts Meet, where they could record that in real time. You could use the tool that I'm going to show you here shortly, the simple audio recorder extension. The second piece of this, after they've had a chance to see a proofread city guide, again, I would just go and print a few pages as a PDF, and I would redact any information that's not kid appropriate. I would also send them to 360cities.net, which is a great resource for people, both personally and professionally. If you're gonna, I did this when my wife and I traveled to Burlington, Vermont. I just took a peek at, what does Burlington look like? I didn't know before we had left. So just to go through it, 360cities.net, this is not .com, it's .net, just as a heads up. And it's a street view, and it's panoramic images where artists submit beautiful photographs that are 360, where it allows people to do some exploration. That in and of itself can be its own task. So at this point, kids have read through a city guide. I'm talking through this instruction. Again, I could do a screencast of me talking kids through, what do you think this is? And I could have a next tab open at 360 Cities to show kids. Maybe kids at Blaine don't know what a Plaza Mayor, what a town center looks like in Europe, for example. And then I would ask kids to then create a script, and maybe you could just have kids share out a script on Google Docs, and they could collaborate on it. Maybe you have kids give some chances to do some proofreading. Maybe you have kids share their draft one with you, get some feedback. So now at this point you have, kids have a target, and I'm going to show you the rubric here shortly about what that looks like. And I'm going to demo here quickly how to use Simple Audio Recorder, which should be one of the links in that resources. And if it's not, I'll add it. I just Googled Simple Audio Recorder. It's one of the extensions that you can add in Chrome. And we'll test this in real time. And when I open up, those little extensions live in the upper right. This is why I love Chrome so much, and the fact that our kids at Blaine High School have access to a Chromebook if they need it. And then I would just send them the extension link and just say, hey, make sure that you add this to your extensions list. Click on it, and you'll notice that it starts counting down. So now the mic went from black to red, and now it starts counting. And then I would click the mic again to stop it. And now you'll notice in the lower left of my screen, now there's a WAV file. Okay, now there's a WAV file. So what can kids do with that WAV file? They could upload it to Classroom as evidence. They could throw it into an audio editor. You could have, if you have GarageBand, for example, on Mac, you could use that. You could create you could add in some music in another kind of an editor. Maybe you don't need the music, but that's one way for us to capture a summative assessment. One of the big concerns about summative assessments situated in distance learning is academic dishonesty. And I 100% agree. This is our chance for kids to then be the creators, and think about all three of these being in the highest levels of Bloom's taxonomy. Kids creating in target language a radio announcement. And I have an example of what that radio announcement looks like back in my presentation. So this is what it sounds like. I'm going to test the audio here real quick. And can you give me a thumbs up, Carrie, if you can hear this on your end? You hear it on your end? Oh, sweet.
¿Te gustaría comer comidas de Madrid, España? Vamos a comer al calor de la brasa. La comida es deliciosa. Visita el restaurante hoy. ¿Quieres la fiesta este fin de semana? ¿Qué comida tú prefieres? Debes comer pescados y carnes con nosotros. Nosotros tuvimos fiesta. Ole, ole, ole. Visita Madrid.
Fabulous. Now, was their Spanish perfect for Spanish speakers in the Zoom? No, it wasn't perfect. And that's okay. That was never my intention. In fact, if it was perfect, I would almost be alarmed as a novice teacher. I would be concerned almost. So again, I want to give kids the opportunity to showcase what they know. And if you go back to those learning targets, that's a chance for us to give kids the opportunity to create. Here is what the top half of the rubric looks like in terms of giving some guidance, suggestions on, vocabulary that kids want. By the way, there's a link to a full lesson plan, like a 14 or 16 page lesson plan in the resource page. And Frederick can get you the link if you're not yet seeing that. You'll see the whole list of suggestions as far as how does this operate. This is how I assess it. At Blaine High School, we operate in standards-based grading, where we are not giving points, but we are showing where kids meet, exceed, or approach standards. So this is kind of how the grading looks. This is a frequent question I get when I make presentations about this task. And again, I know not everybody's a language teacher here, but I think we could think about, what would you want kids to capture? What would you want them to share? What would you want for them to record and showcase mastery of knowledge and learning targets as a result of that? So back to that TPAC framework, I list here at the top pedagogy with the steering wheel. This is my attempt at drawing a steering wheel. And pedagogically, this is what I'm after. I want kids to collaborate. I want students to have choice. When I think about my own 9-12 experiences at White Bear Lake Area High School, go Bears, if there are any Bears in the room, the assessments that I remember the best were the ones that I had choice on. George Kimball gave us full control, we were in the driver's seat when we got to choose which topic we wanted to explore in that paper in a civics class. And I still remember it. And social studies has never been something that was a huge passion, but I remember it still to this day. Content, these content pieces are not much different than what other teachers are teaching in a Spanish 2A, for example. And then again, I would go back to selecting the tool last, because kids could record on their phones about a summative assessment. They could use a lot of tools. Soundtrap is a great online tool that's an editor. It's a lot like GarageBand, but it's web-based. Soundtrap.com is a great one that I've used. And that information is listed on the Blaine Technology and Innovations page if you're curious to find more about that. Second task I want to walk you through is called, how was your week? ¿Qué tal la semana? This is an instance where technology actually solved a problem for me. The problem was students in Spanish 4 in college and the schools were dropping the course when they read on the syllabus that there was a 10-minute interview. And kids got nervous and they didn't think that we were going to take the semester to prepare for that interview. And what they didn't realize is that there were tasks like this that were coming that would afford them the opportunity to be ready to rock and roll, to showcase that mastery of knowledge. So here are the learning targets. You're proficient readers, many of you, I'm betting, wink, wink. At the bottom listed the essential questions. Topics included things like art of storytelling all the way down to Hollywood and fame. And again, Maddie didn't use Screencastify to record this, but it's one tool of many that you could use to capture this. So I'm actually gonna play Maddie's video. This is what she checked in with. Spanish speakers, be ready to chime in the chat about what are one of the 5 things that she reports about her week. I asked kids here to report about something that's already happened, something that's happening today, and something that's happening soon. That was done because as instructors in this curriculum or in this program through the University of Minnesota, we were asked to listen for control of past, present, and future tenses. So this is exactly what Maddie's doing in this video. Check in. Here's Maddie. Let me know if you hear the audio too.
Fue un super semana porque yo gané un A en mi examen de matemáticas. Fui muy emocionada.
Hold on, let me get back to Maddie's check-in.
Hola, señor. Fue un super semana porque yo gané un A en mi examen de matemáticas. Fui muy emocionada. Miércoles yo trabajé en el restaurante con la familia. Hacimos comida auténtica y yo escuché mucho español. Fue muy divertido. Jueves yo trabajé también y en la noche de jueves ayudé a mi familia en nuestra otoño. Después de toda la lluvia había mucho agua, pero ahora todo está bien. Viernes, Victoria y yo fuimos a la cine. Vimos la película The Lucky One con Zac Efron. Fue un chick perfecta, me gustó mucho. Hoy corto el césped y hace tarea y mañana voy a escribir mi mesa redonda y mi familia y mi familia y yo celebraremos Memorial Day. Visitaremos mi bisabuelo y bisabuela en el cementerio. Buen lunes, señor. Hasta martes.
Okay, so that's Maddie's check-in. I have her permission. Thanks for those that are posting. Krista, Caffeinated Kelsey, thanks for coming in today. You're exactly right. Those are the things that she's reporting about what she did during that. Again, this is a chance for her to showcase what she is describing. These are intentionally done privately. This is something that I model with kids. She could have used Screencastify. She could have used her phone to check in. I believe she used QuickTime to submit this. But anyway, you can have kids maybe create a folder if you prefer to have kids have their own Google Drive folder, and then you have those links pre-established. But I always had kids know this is a conversation between me and you. I'm listening to this. I'm marking very casually. This is not a red pen activity. This isn't an activity where I'm, telling her, did she make mistakes? All of it. I still make mistakes in Spanish and in English, and I'm a native English speaker. So I think about, this is not a red pen activity. This is a chance for her to show what she can describe in those three connected to. Maybe you want to give these as a context. So first, we heard about a radio announcement, so capturing audio with simple audio recorder. Second one, ¿Qué tal la semana? A recording about what's shaken for her week. And again, she could use Screencastify. Give me a thumbs up on the emoji in Zoom if you have already used Screencastify. I bet a lot of us have in the last 5 weeks. Screencastify, I see a couple that have it, and that's quite all right. Screencastify is a little extension. It lives in Chrome. The beautiful thing about Google Tools and Chrome extensions is that they are very friendly in Chrome and other Google apps. So recordings from Screencastify automatically dump into Drive, which makes it really easy for kids to submit into Classroom if you're a Classroom campus, just as a heads up. But then they're also just ready to be shared in Drive if you want to create that. I'll just model it here real quickly. I hope that I can do this while doing a Zoom. We'll see. We'll test it out. If it breaks and I need to restart my computer, I'll see you in about 6 minutes. That's another concern I have too about doing this. Screencastify, you find the extension at screencastify.com. The little extension, again, lives in the upper right.
I've thrown the link in the chat.
Thank you.
I've thrown the link in the chat already. Yep.
Awesome. And you're going to see it pop up. It's going to ask you a few prompts, things like, do you want the mic on? Sometimes you don't need a mic on. Sometimes you just want to, walk students through a couple steps along the way. But again, students can add the extension on to theirs for them to be able to create the screencast. One of the best uses of screencasts that I've seen done this year by a teacher, and yes, I'm biased for world language teachers, but Kira Moore, a teacher at Blaine High School, had kids walk us through a tour of a city using that same site, 360cities.net. And the students co-created that script and they turned it in on Google Classroom. She knocked it out of the park. Kids just touch record when they decide their settings first. Sometimes you're asked, do you want the whole desktop or do you want just one tab? That's a preference. I prefer the whole desktop, and then I just click record, and then my picture shows up in the lower right. I choose between screens and I share, and it's working well right now. And then whenever I'm done in the lower right here, I'm just gonna touch, oh, it even counted down. I'll click on stop sharing when it's done, and then automatically that goes right into Drive, and that is ready to go. Again, I'm intentionally using Google Apps here because I want us to be thinking about making this easier. The more that we have kids worrying about tech, it gets in the way of the learning. So when we can use tools that are friendly, like Screencastify, like Simple Audio Recorder, this is going to be, it's just going to help us really focus on the learning. So the last piece I want to showcase here is a learning, really a proficiency portfolio. And I've shared the link with Amelia's permission. That link is located in the presenter resources for today's session. What if we took these bits, right? Maddie's bit about her week, and maybe we took her Que tal la semana and we made that as a part of that. What if Amelia had all of her work just waiting in a portfolio, all of her weekly check-ins, oh, and her audio tour of her home, and her environmental poster, and her Flipgrid response that was a summative about a story called Un pez en la mano, and some video footage from an interview on green energy. Wouldn't that make even more sense when she is sharing a link to this portfolio for college entrance? If she's enrolling or enlisted in the military, if she is jumping into corporate life and she could add that to her resume, wouldn't a portfolio be a great place, not only just to showcase mastery, but what about growth? What if we think about this through the lens of Dweck's growth mindset, and kids compare their first video check-in in March versus their last check-in in May, and do some reflection about that? Wouldn't that be a great place to do that? One of the links that I've shared with you is something that I've recently used with world language teachers and in our district. I'm in Anoka Hennepin district, the largest I have found out this year in the state. And what I was so excited to share with world language teachers is this idea of a portfolio, but I don't think this is just limited to world language teachers. If I were an industrial technology teacher and I was having kids create, and not necessarily limited to distance learning, but if they were creating a coffee table, I would want them to take a shot with their camera and add that to their portfolio. So I've shared with you here from home. By the way, the upper right here has buttons from home all the way down to share. And this just walks kids through, why would you do a portfolio? Oh, start button. I wonder what that does. Oh, here, it tells me how I would start creating a Google site. Again, these are all Google apps, and that's been done intentionally. So that kids, you'll notice that there are some Giphies here that kind of walk kids through those steps. And at the bottom, again, there's a video tutorial that walks you through this step-by-step on how to design those. I'm sharing that with you. Please let me know if you have questions about that, either in the chat or reach out by email. My website, super creative name of my website, darylboeckers.com. Took me all day to think about that website address. So that's a little bit about student portfolios. I want to talk a little bit about a recap of the session before we break out into breakout rooms in Zoom. So again, my invitation to you today, before we discuss in small groups, if you're interested in joining for that, is inviting you to just boil down your learning targets. Think about what are the absolutes, so that when they go on to the next course, that they're hopefully feeling prepared to do that. And I want you to think about concentrating that experience. I'm a home cook. I like to cook a lot. I make my own stock. So when I make a vegetable stock, I start with a full to the brim stock pot, but I let it boil, you know, kind of simmer at a low boil for about 2 to 3 hours. And now what I have at the end of that is a concentrated stock that's going to bring flavor and life into risotto. And I want you to think about doing the same thing, is breathing a lot of life into the few weeks that we have left in distance learning and really creating memorable learning experiences through even more constructivist opportunities. Maybe it's capturing with audio, maybe it's capturing with video, maybe it's giving kids the opportunity to create. Maybe they're already making their own band's website in Google Sites or Wix, and they're just going to be just whizzes at doing this already. Let's be honest, kids know even more technology than us. However, it's not always situated in an educational context. A phrase that I borrow from my friend Lauren Rosen teaches at UW-Madison, and she is an all-star with tech integration. She talks frequently about leading with the task, and that's the same thing as just the steering wheel with the pedagogy. Be thinking about what you want your kids to do, thinking about the tasks that you want them to do, and then pair it with the tech later. If you ever want to start a conversation about that, that's something that I like to talk about a lot. And then lastly, just keep asking yourself, and these are questions that you can bring to your technology integrationists, whether it's at the district level or your building, is just be asking that question: how can kids showcase mastery without a standardized assessment? I don't know about you, but standardized assessments are easily critiqued, right? They limit what kids showcase in terms of knowledge. And right now in the state of Minnesota, that's not on our radar. So now we get to be in the driver's seat in terms of assessments. So maybe it's thinking about that recording. Maybe it's capturing something on video that kids can share out. I remember Jason Karn, Phi Ed teacher in 10th grade about 7 years ago, had kids uploading footage about skills that they were able to do in an online Phi Ed class. What a great opportunity for kids to be able to do that with the flexibility of online scheduling. So I'm going to attempt breakout rooms here, and it's going to automatically assign you. And I'm going to try this for the second time in Zoom. So bear with me while I do this. My question to you, and I'll keep this prompt up. Maybe you want to take a screenshot of this first before we break out into breakout rooms. How would these look in your context? Cheryl, when you're working with pre-service teachers, maybe be thinking about what would you want them to capture with audio. Thanks for joining today, Cheryl, by the way. I just saw your face pop up. Recording videos, what would you want them to showcase? I mean, they're already doing that with the Ed TPA, but maybe that has another avenue for learning with pre-service teachers. If you're a teacher of science and you want to do an online portfolio, what kinds of kids, what kinds of pieces can we have kids add to that portfolio in order for them to showcase mastery with that? So I'm going to send us into breakout rooms. We're going to come back in about 6 to 8 minutes. Introduce yourselves. This is a chance to do just that. Take something that is presented, contextualize it, repurpose it, and then bring it back to your setting. So we'll do breakout rooms, and we're going to do these at random when given the chance. Frederick, any idea how that's working here?
You're looking to do the breakout?
Yeah, I just clicked into breakout room. If you can see my setting, and it usually in the past, oh, here it is. It gave us a little breakout room option. Automatically 4 to 5 participants. Let's do it.
And we'll be coming back to this in a moment?
Yeah, in about 6 to 8 minutes.
Great.
Don't forget to introduce yourselves, people. And then they like get invited to it, I think. Let's do this. So kind. Come back in about 2 minutes. All right, we're going to close break rooms. They should close up in about 55 seconds, according to Zoom. And I want to address some of the questions. There's some really good questions coming up. And while people are popping back in, thanks, Mackenzie, for joining today. And to my SLE students from U of M from a couple years ago, your gems. I'm curious to know in that just a few minutes that remain, how do you see this working in your context? I'm looking for 2 examples. Go ahead and open up your mic and let us know. I saw a hint at a special ed transition portfolio. I'd love to hear some examples of how a portfolio, a recording, audio, or video might work in your context. Go ahead when you're feeling ready. Looking for 2 examples. Here, I'm going to practice my distance learning wait time with educators.
I'll do one.
Thank
to
you.
get the ball rolling. My day job is teaching 5th grade beginner band, right? And so I see many students, and I've recently, before all this happened, flipped assessment outside the classroom. So my students record whatever their assignment is and turn it in via Flipgrid or Seesaw. Some have gotten really fancy and used WeVideo to make a very fully polished, produced recording of hot cross buns. But generally speaking, that it's a great way to keep track of their stuff.
Nice. Thank you, Frederick. I think we have plenty of time for 1 or 2 more. Mackenzie, could you speak a little bit more about the portfolio for your transition students? I'm going to put my cousin's wife on the spot.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So I was thinking, just watching that, how great of a way, because we have the 5 areas of transition in high school, how great would it be to be able to have each area a different topic, and then they can just kind of show either tasks they did or things within their day of how they showcase that transition skill. Or maybe they obtained employment and maybe they can show a job application or things like that, or like practice interview skills or a mock interview type thing. I just thought that would be kind of a cool way to have something they can tangibly take with them after high school.
Awesome. Love that idea. Thanks, Mackenzie. Any one last burning one? I'm looking at the clock. We're at about 3:46 here. We'd like to wrap it up in about the next 3 minutes. There are links to a Flipgrid down at the bottom of the, in fact, I'll just grab the tab and show it here real quick. There is a link. Frederick, if you wouldn't mind just throwing both of those in the chat while I talk through these, the Flipgrid for my session and the lounge. The Meet is where we can kind of take this to the next. We only have 1 Zoom account that we're operating under today. So we're going to take this conversation. If you're interested in continuing it, I'm here for a little bit. Although I did get a nice invitation from some former students to join on a convo later. So maybe those students want to join right in this one. The lounge would be a good place to continue the conversation, connect with like-minded people, and then the Flipgrid would also be a great chance for people to do some asynchronous thinking, so that on Monday, if you have some other thoughts like, hey, I'd like to also add this. And I also want to invite you to hit up the photo booth. I know it seems kind of cheesy, but I will say this was the biggest hit thanks to Lucian Nagel and her work at the Minnesota Council on the Teaching of Languages and Culture. She did some awesome work doing this. And we also, by the way, we also have a chime in from the Minnesota Secretary of Education, Mary Catherine Ricker. She has chimed in on our MNDL Summit Flipgrid. So I would look forward to meeting you at the Meet. Don't forget the Flipgrid. And you can also continue the asynchronous discussion too up here at this Flipgrid also. So I'll sign off here shortly. Thank you for an amazing session. Congratulations to all of you for being at Blaine High School, where I just sent out communications to the building. This is the end of week 5 for us. And we're, I'm already tickled to think about the skill set that our educators have walking into fall. Fingers crossed, hopefully face-to-face in fall with kiddos. But I just could not be prouder of the work that our faculty are doing to really leverage technology, not just in terms of designing instruction, but also in terms of assessment. So thanks for joining today, and join in the conversation on Twitter. If you don't have a Twitter handle already, today's the day, make one. I hope to see you down in the Hangouts Meet Lounge. Thanks, everybody.
Good job. I'm throwing up in the chat one more time. This is the link to the Meet, the Google Meet. And if you would like CEUs from today's session, you can potentially fill this out at the end of today and then the end of Monday if you're coming to both, or you could do it after each session you attend. It's just going to be an autocrat from a Google Sheets anyway. But fill out the CEUs link that I just threw in the chat. And then once again, right above that is the lounge where you can have one-on-one FaceTime with Daryl Boeckers.
All right, thanks everybody. Hope to see you in the lounge. If not, wishing you luck in distance learning. This has been a roller coaster and a fun ride. Personally, I've enjoyed it a lot. But I know it's been a challenge for so many of us, myself included, in different ways.
Wonderful session. I'm going to go ahead and close out this room now, and okay. Everybody enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Pop back into the next session at 4 o'clock or go join Darren.
Thanks, Dave, for making this just wicked easy.
I hope so. I hope that was my full intent, is like as easy as can be. So that's what we're going for.
And all I have to do is click on leave twice, right?
You know, and I'm actually just going to close it out so that it closes on YouTube also. So you're set.
Good. All right. Thanks, guys.